I started a business connection podcast because I wanted connections. I didn't realize I was going to actually get friendships and actual mentorship and actual genuine connection. And it's not like my guests were prospects. They became friends, and most of them didn't become clients, but they became my number one referral partners, and they introduced me to other people. Before you know it, it's still a very niche community that knows who I am. Everyone in the marketing, entrepreneurship, podcasting, whatever business space in Rochester, New York knows Ben Albert. Just because I started something. I wasn't better than anyone. I just did the thing.
Step into the world of success with Your Brand Amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. There's no reason not to dive right in, Ben Albert, one of my favorite people in the podcast world, especially. I'm so thrilled to have you on Your Brand Amplified today. We have been trying to get this scheduled for years, I think. So we're here.
We did it. We're here.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed meeting you in person, some recent conferences earlier this year, and being able to support your speaking endeavors at podcast conferences. And I'm a big fan and supporter of everything that you've done for the community.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, Ben Albert, thank you for being on Your Brand Amplified.
I'm excited to be here. We dove right in. I'm going to ask you a question I generally ask in pre-interview, and this will be a micro lesson in me just asking. Who is the listener today? Who are we talking to? Who can I show up for?
One of my least favorite questions.
Because you never know exactly who you're going to help.
Yeah, well, for those who listen or those who are aspiring future guests, a lot of times, and this is also a lesson, is this is the point when I cut somebody off from the interview process. But we are both podcasters. We're both really busy people. So I'm going to make an exception for you. The audience has varied. It's everything from people who are established business owners, many years in business, just want to get the next tip and trick, right? A little bit of motivation in their day, to people who have exited successfully for hundreds of millions of dollars from their businesses.
So, wow.
So
that's
yeah.
wide ranging. You have a beautiful audience. And why I ask questions like that is I know you and I are going to have a conversation. Then you're going to jump and have a conversation on my podcast. And that's going to be amazing. And we're talking just you and I, but the listener is probably not at some sporting event listening through the main speakers, or they probably have their headphones on at the gym or in the car or while doing dishes or putting the child to sleep. So I always try to imagine like at least one person at a time and have the conversation for them. Because I think if we can help just one person at a time, we can help millions of people in the long term.
And right here, folks, you are hearing what Ben is all about.
We try.
Boom. So, Ben, share with the audience who doesn't necessarily know you, your career path and everything that you bring into the community now. And we're really going to talk about intentionality, connection, real connection, authenticity, and tribes today.
Sounds good. How long do we have? Because it's been a long journey to get us here.
It has been a long journey, and we have up until we need, until we switch and I come on your show.
So I'll just monologue for 45 minutes. I joke when I say how long do we have? Because like I believe that whether it's like a big T trauma, something really bad happens, a little T trauma, someone bullied us, we got laughed at, we didn't quite know it's going to affect us, whether it's graduating from school, whether it's getting your first A, whether it's getting momentum, lots of things happen in our lives that prepare us for who we get to become. And sometimes I pinch myself because the person I was 10 years ago is a completely different human being. And then 10 years from now, I'm probably going to be transformed into a whole new Ben. So I joke like, how long do we have? Because a lot has happened from then till now. But a couple of pivotal moments is I never really fit in school. felt very much disconnected, was the quiet kid, was shy. At home, I won't go deep in this route unless you want me to, but it wasn't the perfect household. But my mom had multiple sclerosis and neurological disorder, and my dad had a pretty bad drinking and drug problem. So wasn't the social butterfly in school. At home, felt very disconnected. There's a lot of weird things going on in the household, and I wanted to be a basketball player, but of course I'm the shortest boy in school, so I've got mad skills, but I'm short. Want to be a bad basketball player, and I get pushed around. I get bullied, and I wonder, like, why do I feel? I don't know if I wondered this clearly at the time, but why do I feel so disconnected? Why don't I fit in? Why am I so small? Why am I not growing? Why am I afraid to public speak? And that started my journey of like starting to read. Like at one point, it's just like how to talk to a girl and not look silly, like to like mindset and habits and marketing and business. And I believe like my growth mindset and my love of podcasting came from feeling small and being afraid to talk. And then my love of building community and tribes is I know what it feels like to feel disconnected, and I don't want others to feel that way either. So went into business, the corporate world, marketing, then a sales executive. Pandemic hit. I got let go, became an accidental entrepreneur because I didn't have a job. And Music Ben, I was a music promoter at the time, was completely unemployed. So Music Ben was unemployed and non-essential, had to create Business Ben. Business Ben's an entrepreneur. I took that love of learning. I took that love of community and connection and learning something new every single day. Started a rinky-dink local podcast called Rochester Business Connections from Rochester, New York. And that became like day one in my audio diary that now it's 2025. It's called Real Business Connections. There's still a Rochester segment, but the Ben on day podcast episode 1, who starts a business podcast because he has no idea. I didn't know how to business. That's why I started the podcast, and I called it Business Connections because I wanted some. And now people are like, Ben, you're so well connected. I'm literally still journaling and figuring it out as I go. So that is like a very brief explanation of a very long journey that brought us here today.
Yeah. Well, that's part of when we have talked about this in private conversations. And in those conversations that Ben and I have had, we've talked about, because I was a club promoter, right, as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I really became interested in. I guess that was always my pool, was wanting to bring people together for collective good, right, in spirit and community, whatever that was, whether it was because of music or something else. And like you, I was a shy kid, or everybody thought I was shy, because I like to listen. Even now, when I meet people, sometimes for the first time, I mean, I had a great whole day experience in Vancouver this summer with somebody who was on my podcast. And we went and looked at art. We looked at his favorite beaches. He took me around. I got to go to his house and meet his wife and see their garden. And it was so beautiful. But he talks a lot, and he said, "You're awfully quiet." And that's just, I'm observational. I like to listen to other people. I like to absorb what they have to share. And I'll interject because my ADHD tells me, oh, this is when you need to relate to them and tell a story without me, consciously doing it. Yeah. Or when I feel like I really have something that will add to the conversation. But otherwise, I'm happy to sit back. But that can make people think that you are different than how you feel inside. So like yourself, right? Figuring out our place in the world, figuring out how do we get to that point where people don't see us in that lens, but they see us how we see ourselves, full people who have value, who can connect, who have a voice, right? And so that is part of our story that we share, that I've always resonated with since we had that in-person conversation earlier this year, after already having been connected. Gosh, I don't even know how many years before that.
Who knows?
Yeah. So I think it's really important. And we all have these different things, right, that help us change and grow. Childhood trauma, other people's relationships, our relationship to ourselves, relationship to others. And you starting a business podcast so you could learn how to business Number one is brilliant. And number two, I'm much better at business because of all the guests that I've had.
100%.
Without necessarily intentionally at first setting out on that journey. But now I say it in so many episodes. Wow, this is something I needed to hear right now. Let me take notes on what you're talking about. Let me look further into your book, into your course, into your coaching, whatever it is. Because all of these things that I'm learning from my amazing guests resonate with me as well in my journey and what I need to learn or what I need to help other people learn. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
For this journey that you've been on and now the continuation of it. So talk about how Rochester, the Real Business Rochester turned into Real Business Connections, turned into the communities that you've built and GrowGetters and everything that you're doing now.
Lots of stuff, right?
Yeah. Lots of stuff. And I also will say, you said, you're a different person than you were 10 years ago, even less time, because on a cellular level,
oh my
our
God,
entire makeup changes like every 7 years.
I don't know how in the weeds you want to get in this conversation, but I feel like I'm a different person than like 10 days ago. Like based on recent events, based on what I am learning. I was for probably 3 years, 2020, 21, 2022, and most of 2023. I was in a season of grind. I worked really hard. I was 12-hour days minimum, nonstop. And this year specifically, I've just kind of been in a season of play. And I actually find, so all my business acumen, all my answers, like my brain is still the same it was, but I process a little bit slower because I was doing like 3 podcasts a week for a while. And nowadays I do far less. And I've just been camping and hiking and music and enjoying stuff. Now, I spent years and years building a business that allowed me to have the capacity to do that. But right now, people are like, what's your goal? I'm like, my goal is to go camping. So I genuinely feel like I change year to year, if not month to month. But that's the beauty in the process is we're constantly evolving. There's no end destination. There's no made it. There's no perfect North Star. We get to choose, but we also can choose to pivot and do something different. So much has got me here. I know I kind of went on a tangent with that one, but I find that I don't know if it's cellular or not, but I seem to be changing like all of the time. And I think that's kind of a beauty of the journey. I mean, you talked about loving to listen and just like you could just sit and listen and be curious. And like, it's such a beautiful thing because I could look at this year and even if you look at my numbers, I'm having a worse financial year than last year, but I probably had 6 times more fun.
As a business owner myself, I can tell you that finding the right people to hire is absolutely brutal. You post a job, get flooded with hundreds of resumes, but somehow still can't find anyone with the actual skills you need. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/work. Here's what makes ZipRecruiter different. Their smart technology actually identifies the top talent for your specific roles super quickly. The moment you post your job, their matching system starts showing you qualified candidates immediately. Plus, you can reach out to your favorite candidates right away using their pre-written invite to apply messages. No more waiting around, hoping someone will notice your post. Ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/work. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/work. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. See? But those are things you have to pay attention to. And
yeah,
I don't know we haven't had this discussion that I'm now full-time in podcasting. I still teach at university, but I have taken that leap.
Wow.
Not because of where I'm at right now, but because I know what my numbers are going to be in a few months financially, right? So I've been able to say, yeah, next year, actually, as of now, less than 2 weeks into full-time, not working for somebody else full-time again, right? I've already replaced that income.
How do you feel?
It feels amazing. It feels so happy. And am I still grinding? Yes. I spent all weekend building out my new website.
Yeah.
I am at the very last part of my MBA. I have a daughter who has her first college application is due in about a month.
Wow.
It was just announced at school. I already knew this, but that she's a National Merit semifinalist, one of 8 at her school, and over their graduating class is probably 620 something or more. So all these things are happening at once, all these convergings that are making it a season where I'm still grinding. I'm still working like hard, because if I'm doing speaking engagements, podcasting, onboarding new clients, teaching at, 3 classes a week at USC, running that podcast, this podcast, and producing podcasts, I save the weekends for plenty of time with my daughter and my partner and my family, but also, and my volunteer activities, but then also catching up on all of the other things I need to catch up on. But I'm looking at, okay, but it's not going to be too long until then. I'm going to take a trip. I'm going to not work during that trip I'm going to try not to work, I should say, because I'm not very good at that. But
work less.
I think it's fantastic that you have gotten to a point where you're perfectly happy with, I made a little less money, but I'm having so much fun. I'm getting that time with your loved ones, that time to go camping, that time to just have a step back, which as creatives we need, and as business owners we need, because that's when great ideas come to us, or we look at how we can design life, or the next message we want to share with our audience.
Yeah, I think we both need an AI clone. It would make life a lot easier if we had an AI clone of ourselves.
We're getting there. Good good team members, and it was a lot of help from AI.
Yeah,
absolutely. So talk about this journey, though.
Sure.
Podcasting, then what did that turn into in terms of business? And then talk about the communities that you built and why it was important for you to not just podcast, not just help businesses, but also form community around them.
Yeah, and thanks for re-answering the question I didn't answer. So let's go back to that one. I started Rochester Business Connections because I needed some. I was born and raised in Rochester, New York. I love my city. Was like music promoting and like music blog and a music podcast. But Music Ben just hung out with creatives, was a little bit of a weirdo, still am, but didn't really have like good business sense. So I started a Rochester business podcast because I was thinking I am literally a minnow in an ocean of sameness. I'm a solopreneur, marketer who doesn't really know what he's doing in business. I know how to market, but I don't never run a business. And I like podcasting, but like, what's my niche? I'm literally a minnow in an ocean of sameness. And I said, if I start a Rochester, New York business podcast and talk to business owners, at least I'll be a minnow in like a small pond, So my niche just became local and business. And since I like to nowadays talk about plus, minus, and equals, I'll go through it in like 2 seconds. Pluses are your mentors. Minus are your mentees, your audience. Equals are the peer-to-peer support. And I didn't realize I was doing this at that level, but by starting a business podcast as a business owner, plus as my mentors, every single guest was a mentor of mine. They taught me about CRMs and sales and business and teamwork and leadership. They were also minuses, though, because they were prospects in a sense. They were business owners and had a marketing firm. So there's a high possibility that I could help them, at least in marketing. They know 99 things I don't, but I have one thing that they might just need. And they were equals because we're both business owners, so they're peers. Now, granted, I was only in business a few days, but they were my mentor, my peer, and my audience. And since I was in a small pond and not trying to be the next Gary Vee overnight, the next Alex Hormozy or Brene Brown, it was much easier to build real, genuine connections. I started a business connection podcast because I wanted connections. I didn't realize I was going to actually get friendships and actual mentorship and actual genuine connection. And it's not like my guests were prospects. They became friends, and most of them didn't become clients, but they became my number one referral partners, and they introduced me to other people. Before you know it, it's still a very niche community that knows who I am. Everyone in the marketing, entrepreneurship, podcasting, whatever business space in Rochester, New York knows Ben Albert. Just because I started something. I wasn't better than anyone. I just did the thing. And recorded and put out stuff and built relationships over time. And over time, it's kind of like I don't know if it's ego or curiosity. I think it's ego and curiosity now that I'm thinking out loud. I wanted to talk to super successful people. I had been listening to podcasts this is 2022, been listening to podcasts for about 10 years. And I had mentors like Jordan Harbinger or Hala Taha or Chris Van Vliet, human beings, James Altucher. I was listening to their podcasts for years and I wanted to get them on the show. So this is where ego comes in. I can't get these big name podcasters on my Rochester, New York business podcast. I maybe could if I positioned it properly, but I rebranded from a Rochester show to Real Business Connections at a Rochester. So I had the capacity to reach out to bigger names. And that's where I'm like, is it curiosity or is it ego? The curiosity is I wanted to learn from brilliant people. The ego was I wanted to reposition my brand to reach out to a larger audience. And then over time and through networking and having a guest and bringing value and then getting an introduction, over time, all those people I just named became guests on my podcast. And it's just really cool because this was not anticipated. This is just how the story unfolded.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. This is where, I just gave a talk yesterday about, and I have a class now, of course, at USC on podcasting for brand building, which is really Indie Podcast 101. But in both of them, I share these statistics that people outside the podcast world don't really probably pay much attention to, but we all do. So, right, there are 4.51 million or 0.53 or 5 million or whatever number you want to use. And if you look at active podcasts by the definition of episode released in the last 90 days, at least 10 episodes, because there are different markers of what does active mean as well. 341,000 active podcasts. Such a small percentage.
It's a teeny tiny number.
So there is a very huge opportunity still.
And 341,000 tweets just went out this second. Right. I cut you off, but it's such a small number.
And to specifically to encourage people who are listening, because I know some of you are listening, I'm thinking specifically Gabriella Gearhart, Houston, Texas, who we've been talking about getting your podcast started for quite a while. It is great to have a localized podcast, to have that business niche, to get to know people in your local community. And like Ben did, you can then expand it. So for instance, you have a podcast, you own a motherhood center, still talking to the same person. Then you can turn that into talking to mothers and other groups that are serving mothers all over the world, right? So your model is so perfect for anybody who's an aspiring podcaster to show what you can do, what you can achieve. And you speak at many podcast conferences. I think everybody knows you in the podcast community. You're beloved, right? So, and it's
I'll take
really,
it.
You should. And but this also shows how welcoming the community is.
Yeah.
Overall.
If they let me in, then they're welcoming.
So you started this out, you made it bigger, right? You turned it into Real Business Connections.
Yeah.
Talk about the other side of the work. So then you said, okay, now I have this great community of people I'm learning from, but they can also be clients, referral partners. Now they're friends, which is also a huge, huge upside.
Yeah.
I never, just meeting the people I've met through podcasting, I could pinch myself every day for those people who are in my life now.
Yeah.
Right. But now you've also figured out a way to help them connect. Bruises. Yeah. So talk about GrowGetters Only and the other platforms that you've created so that it's not only you networking one-on-one, but you're also helping other people network and grow community, friendships, business associates, mentors, mentees together.
Yeah. So I really only have one goal in everything I do. It's to get the knowledge, the wisdoms, the solutions, the answers from the folks who have it to the folks who need it. I get to be a professional bridge. I get to be a professional connector. And the thing about getting the answers from the people who need it, people who have it to the people who need it, is I'm often in the need it category. Like I need answers, so I get them and I just share them with others as I go. So I started the podcast to do that. And then the community, when you look at that like simple plus minus equals framework, mentors, mentees, and peers, the community was me basically trying to figure out how I could build a peer group of other crazy people like me who think they're some kind of crazy that they can be an entrepreneur, work full time for themselves, be successful without being unethical, while being heart centered, and attract and work with the right kind of people along the way. And GrowGetters Only just started as a monthly networking event where it's went through a lot of iterations. I won't give you all the iterations, but it started with I knew that education was important. I had been to so many networking events where like business cards for me in person overwhelms me a little bit. A lot of clanging, a lot of this and that. Not great at small talk. I want to go deep with people. So I didn't quite fit in. And I knew that if we could take education and mix it with networking, it gives people something to talk about, something to go deeper on. It's an icebreaker. So I would take guests from my podcast, ask if they could keynote speak at these networking events, and then we would do speaker breakout room. And in the breakout rooms, you could either go to the speaker Q&A, ask questions of the speaker and take notes, or you can do networking. So this was free events that were a tremendous amount of value and a lot of planning, and speakers that charge a lot for their time. No clue how they put their chips on me, but thank God they did. And it really got to a point where people are like, this is my favorite networking group. Like, you could be charging this. It's like, I don't want to charge for this. I'm doing this for the greater impact, the peer-to-peer support. But enough people were telling me like, this is something that's worth a lot of money, that we launched an inner circle by now, almost 2 years ago. So now we still put on free events. They're usually mostly networking. We do workshops. There's been a lot of iterations, but we have a free segment and then we have an inner circle. So again, what started as Ben wants to meet more people. I'm a huge fan of what I call becoming the center of gravity. I never had a seat at the table when I was a kid. I never fit in. When I was in corporate, I was an oddball. When I was in retail, my manager gave me a 2 out of 5 for innovation. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the most innovative person I know. And she's like, yeah, but in your role, it's actually not your job to be innovative. So I can't give you a high score on that. I'm like, what? I'm like, I never felt like I had a seat at the table. So I like to be the center of gravity and bring my own table. I like to bring my own mic. I like to start my own thing. So I didn't like other networking events. So I started mine, and it became a mastermind over time. So a lot of this is just like doing what I feel like I need, knowing that other people might need it as well. And then it iterates into something bigger over time. And now the community is huge. Another thing that just happened 6 months ago is it was very informal. We had free events and then we had an inner circle. And it was 2 separate things. Recently, we partnered with school.com to start. It's at weallgrowtogether.com. We actually started a community to actually like formalize it. So there's a forum, there's a calendar, there's free events, there's inner circle events. If you didn't pay to be in the inner circle, I create a lot of FOMO because you can't access those events. And I found a way to bring both communities together. And that, is the next iteration in my career. The podcast is going well. The agency is doing pretty good. I wanted to build this community to like thousands, if not tens of thousands, and then hundreds of thousands of members over time. So that'll be fun.
And what's funny is I did go to the website and it took me to school community, and you invited me to join this community.
Did you
join?
A
while ago. No, it's as a big button that says Ben Albert invited you, join group. And I'm like, oh my Lord. So this is my bad when it comes to this episode today.
One thing that's cool about school or things like that, I'll just be transparent. Like, I have a spreadsheet of all my top connections, and then I uploaded my CSV file to school, and it auto-invited like 500 people. So I didn't give you a formal personalized invitation. Like, you need to join. I just gave you a random. So I am not mad that you didn't accept it, but I will be mad if you don't accept it now.
Well, now I had just joined.
Yay!
Using a brand spanking new email that only has 11 emails in the inbox.
Okay, I'm going to be the
It's
next
such a good
11.
feeling when you have a new email address and it's not over inundated yet. So
That we could go
yay.
down that tangent if you want, but I just unsubscribed by over 200 newsletters in the past week.
Do you have a formula for that, or did you have to go one by one? Because I've been doing the same dang thing.
There is tools for it. I went one by one. I have marked so many things as spam, and I get so much spam and so many subscriptions. And I actually put out a LinkedIn post and upset a couple people. I put out the post because people were upset. They're like, Ben, you unsubscribed to my newsletter. And I'm like, if you saw my inbox, you would have unsubscribed to your newsletter as well. I used to believe that having you in my inbox in a newsletter was a good reminder of you. And it's true. Like, I want to be reminded by the people, but I wasn't reading any of it. The amount of mental energy it took to go through it. And I wasn't actually adding any value in these people's lives because I wasn't reading or responding. So I unsubscribed from like 98% of them. And to me, like, AI is cool, automation's cool. I like to have conversations. So I have less newsletters. I'm trying to stay one-to-one and have conversations and stay up to date without like this false sense of connection just because they're in my inbox, but I never open the thing. I'm on a tangent.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I look in my inbox for me to get back to them about even just being podcast guests or acknowledging their emails. I just can't get to it. And yes, I've built out some agentic tools, but I'm also tinkering with those tools and improving them before I can do the whole data dump into the tool that can then let me know, yes, these are the people you're booking for the rest of the year, and then send them the email from there. And then, over 4,000 emails that I haven't looked at. And so I've just been going kind of like you, one by one. If I see a newsletter and I haven't opened any of them in the past 50, because people also send daily newsletters. I love this conversation because we're just kind of going over things that, it's just like we're having a conversation, which is always my favorite thing to do. But I think hopefully people are also gleaning a little bit here and there from what we're talking about. And what we're really talking about is the need for connection. It doesn't matter if it's virtual connection, in-person connection, but being able to have the real connections that we value over being inundated with. And I apologize for anybody who might be listening who sends these to me or to anybody else. I can't look at an email from you every single day about your latest offer. I can't. I don't have time. I don't want to have an assistant who has to go through that. It doesn't mean I don't love you as a person and maybe want to figure out how we can work together someday, but it gets overwhelming. And then I have to sit and just ignore it all. And that's not what we want either, because then that's not me helping add value to you either by saying, oh, look at this newsletter. I can refer somebody who I think would be great for you. So,
yeah, it's never personal. If anything, it's kind of it's a compliment to the data that if people aren't reading your emails, if they're not replying, if you're getting unsubscribes, don't take offense to that. Use that as data to, okay, maybe my emails are too long. Maybe my email doesn't have a call to action to engage with me. Nowadays, when I send emails, they're usually like 4 to 6 sentences long. It's like greeting, value, question. I try to keep them super simple because if I had like a newsletter with like 5 podcasts this week and one thing I learned and this event and this photo and this post, and like the click-through rate was trash. And I'm like, I'm putting a lot of effort into nothing here. And it's not that I'm a bad person. It's just the strategy's not working with the list, my community that could be reading this. Let's send less emails and let's make them shorter. And nowadays, like most of my emails are just trying to initiate discussion. For example, if it's location based, I'd send it just to the people that are in that location. But let's say it's a virtual event. I'd say there's a virtual event on this topic at this time. I don't want to bore you with all the information. If you have any interest, just reply and I'll send you over all the information you may need. And by getting replies, you're actually telling the algorithm that your emails are readable and people reply to them. So you're not going to go to the spam filter if you do that. But if you're sending out super long emails that no one are reading, it's kind of bad news for your brand long term. And the reason I go on this tangent is it's not personal, it's just data. And we love you and appreciate you. So if we unsubscribe, it's not that you did anything wrong. It's just we're busy.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that's something people, newsletters certainly aren't dead. I am going to I switched over where I have my newsletter. I'm going to do a few, but I'm not going to do them super regularly. I'd rather have a LinkedIn newsletter that goes to people who subscribe, so they want to read it. And I know they want to read it right there. And LinkedIn is going to do the marketing for me to let people know that I have a new newsletter out. And people will discover it by keyword searches. So it actually shows me what people are really interested in. Which newsletters are they reading? Do they want to hear about AI pedagogy, or do they want to hear about podcasting? Do they want to hear about tools that I've created using agents, or something completely, or volunteering, whatever the case may be? And I can see how the growth is going. And so to me, that's much more present in some ways, because I see the statistics. I see who I'm not connected with, who is following my newsletter. I like to reach out to those people and form a connection, because I don't just want them to be a random person. I don't need somebody just to follow my content, right? I actually want to form a relationship with them.
Agreed. I'm not an affiliate for School, so I just think it's a cool platform. If anyone doesn't know School, SKOOL.com, it's a community platform where you can build communities, sell courses, the whole shabam. But one thing I like about that, and you can also do it on Substack, is you can auto deliver your post to their inbox. So they've already joined my community. They're not just some random person that somehow got on my list. They're in my community, GrowGetters Only. And I like that School puts in guardrails that you can only send one every 72 hours. The way it works is I can post as much in there, but there's a button that I can select every 72 hours, and sometimes it irritates me because I want to do it sooner, that auto emails everyone on the list. So instead of using like MailChimp or any of these constant contact, I can use School to email my community members via a post. So I make a post and it goes into everyone's inbox. And they'll get like a weekly recap as well. So it's people that have opted in to be in your tribe, and you sending at most once every 72 hours, one simple email. That's more of a permission-based marketing that I enjoy, versus like sending out an email today to thousands of people that don't even know why they're there.
Yeah. Such a good point. Such a good point. And, it's funny because I sign up for things like, sure, I'll be an affiliate for that program. And then maybe 6 months later, I'll get oh, you've been approved to be an affiliate for this person's program. Like, I haven't talked to them in how long? I'm not selling their product. I haven't put it, it's this weird thing that happens in the world of just when you're only communicating through emails and newsletters and things like that, or promotions. So sorry to everybody who's listening that we've gone off a lot of tangents, but I do think that there are some key things that we've talked about here, which is there's still a huge opportunity in podcasting. Start local, get comfortable, then you can upgrade, right, as you level up. Building community is so important, but building it consistently and precisely, with the right people in it, people who want to be there, who have opted in to be there, making sure that you're constantly adding value to your community, whatever that looks like, right? And the opportunity to have mentors, mentees, people who are cheerleaders for you, will refer business to you that you can refer business to, or just a friend that you can lean on. All of this came for both of us out of podcasting.
It's a good summary. I hope the listener at home enjoys a conversation like this, because we could give you the 7 steps to podcast success, or 3 ways to build a community in 30 days, and all these great like talk titles. But this felt like more of just a conversation between creators about what's working, what isn't working, what irks us, what helps us. And I find it beneficial. I hope it's beneficial for the folks at home.
Yeah. People who are listeners know that every episode is very different on my podcast. I don't do seasons. We're just going to talk about this one topic.
Yeah.
because there's too much to learn in the world, or too many interesting people to talk to in this world and learn from. And that's why I love just having conversations with people like yourself, Ben.
Well, thanks.
So, yeah,
I do
thank
too.
you.
That's why you're going to be on my podcast, and it's similar. I don't even know what I'm going to ask you yet.
I mean, that's the way I operate too. So for everybody who's listening to this episode, thank you for going on this fun journey with us. If you do join the bigger podcasting community, if you want to join Ben's group, we'll have that information in the show notes. If you go to any podcast conferences, chances are one or the other of us or both are speaking at it. Small conference, large conference, please come say hi.
Yeah.
Right? We like to expand our groups, and we like to put smiles on people's faces and leave the world a little bit better every day, which is always the goal of Your Brand Amplified. So, and don't forget to find me over on Ben's podcast, which we're now going to record. So, Ben, I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, guys, if you just Google Real Business Connections or type Real Business Connections,
or you just put it in the show notes.
Or put in the show notes. I want people to realize they can just type in words Real Business Connections and you'll find that podcast in that interview. And can I say one more thing before we go?
Absolutely.
I want to give them incentive because you were talking about like the community. It's completely free to join. For example, I was just in Atlanta for VidFest and I went to the map and I saw who was in Atlanta and gave away 2 free tickets. And there's coupon codes, there's free events. It's free to join. So if anyone wants to go to weallgrowtogether.com, you're going to be surrounded by peers that are podcasting, learning. I'm going to give you free stuff. And it sounds like you just joined, so you'll be hanging out in the group as well. So I wanted to just say that it's not like any hard sell. You can join a free community of good people, and it'll take you 2 seconds to do so.
Amazing. Thank you again. And thank you for everybody who's humored me today by going on this journey. It's been really fun. And I'll see you all very soon with another amazing guest to share their story, their journey, and some tips and tricks that will help you and hopefully inspire you in your life and your business. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.